Good morning. As many of you here today, I have lived and worked here in downtown Toronto for 27 years. My name is Margaret Samuel. Today, the Downtown Concerned Citizens Organization, in conjunction with Protect Bathurst, Integrity, TO, and several other community organizations across Toronto, are hosting this press conference here at Nathan Phillips Square. City Hall's mismanagement of several departments and issues, including encampments, methadone clinics, bike lanes, exclusive bus lanes, vending machines peddling drug paraphernalia, 16.4% property tax increases over the past 2 years, and the dropping of 24/7 homeless shelters on neighborhoods are among all the insanities to be highlighted by 13 speakers representing various communities across Toronto. There is a giant demand for City Hall to clean house of departments, including transportation, public health, shelter support services, the Ombudsman Office, elected officials. Mayor Olivia Chow's confidentiality policies will also be addressed, as these hot buttons are deemed election issues for next year's municipal election. Speakers today are Paul McCusey, Protect Bathurst; Rowan Baber, MP York West; Diane Chester, Emile Glassberg, and Jen Hilston of Niagara Neighbourhood 629 Adelaide Street West; Cody McRae of Bloor, Balance on Bloor; Eloise Morrison of Scarborough Southwest; Anthony Furry; David Margulies of New Toronto 66 3rd Street; Andre Fortier, Upper Jarvis Residence; Sharon Danley, Esplanade Seniors Downtown Concerned Citizens Organization; Daniel Tate, Integrity TO; and Councillor Brad Bradford. Each speaker has 2 minutes to make their presentation, which will all be followed by Q&A and one-on-ones. The first speaker is Paul Mercuzzi, Protect Bathurst.
Good morning. My name is Paul McCusey. I'm a Bathurst Street business owner and resident speaking on behalf of the Protect Bathurst Coalition, a citizen-led grassroots organization fighting for the integrity, character, and heart of our community. Our coalition has stood together in resistance as the City of Toronto and the TTC have pushed to impose permanent, radical changes to our infrastructure. The plan to install 24/7 dedicated transit lanes removes all access to the curb, including stopping and loading, while eliminating more than 480 parking spots along the way. These changes are meant to speed up transit, but overlooks the actual lived realities of the people who live and work along this street. Public consultation was limited. Just for some context, 531 people attended the only 4 sessions to make considerable changes to the Bathurst Street plan. That makes up only 0.11% of the population in the affected wards. Do you mean to tell me that this is satisfactory city planning? The mayor and her councillors need to realize you are elected. We are your constituents. We are the people. You are beholden to us. It's not the other way around. Our coalition is a reflection of an ongoing citywide struggle. Community groups representing thousands of citizens continue to organize and share demand. Change at City Hall. To those in power today, our message is clear. Pause rapid TO, scrap the rush FIFA timeline, and let voters decide on permanent changes in 2026. We stand here today as citizens of Toronto representing far too many people to be overlooked or dismissed. We demand a city that includes everyone.
Thank you, Paul. Our next speakers are Diane Chester, Emile Glassberg, and Jen Hilsden, speaking on Niagara Neighbourhood 629 Adelaide Street West.
Thank you, Margaret. My name is Emile, and I'm here with my neighbors Diane and Jen, and we're speaking on behalf of hundreds of neighbors in the Adelaide and Tecumseh neighborhood. Regretfully, we're here today because Mayor Chow, Deputy Mayor Malik, and Gore Tanner are forcing a 24-hour emergency shelter into our quiet residential neighborhood around 629 Adelaide Street West. This shelter will distribute needles, pipes, and other drug paraphernalia 24 hours a day and is steps from St. Mary's Public Children's School and just down the street from another children's school. Exactly where will these drugs be bought and where will these drugs be used in the neighborhood? We have spoken to dozens of police officers familiar with shelter activities, and each one has warned us to fortify our door locks and enhance our home security. This scares many of us. The city says there's nothing to worry about, yet there has been no public consultation, no safety plan, and no accountability from any of them. Jen.
The shelter will be operated by St. Felix Center, who have a terrible neighborhood safety record at the respite sites they've operated in the past, marred by drug trafficking, violence, crime, and encampments. Our neighborhood, unfortunately, expects the same chaos. Dormitory-style homeless shelters are no place for persons with mental health and substance abuse issues. They are not safe for residents of the shelter or for the neighborhood. This is confirmed in a recent CAMH safety report on shelters. Diane?
We demand action. Stop the shelter at 629 now. Stop the secretive, undemocratic shelter siting process. Every Torontonian deserves healthcare, treatment, and housing. But Mayor Chow are only bringing social chaos into Toronto neighborhoods.
Yes.
Thank you, Dana, and thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Emil, Jen, and Diane. The next speaker is Cody McRae from Balance on Bloor.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Cody McRae, and I am the founder of Balance on Bloor. We are a community-led coalition for a common-sense, data-driven approach to our city's transportation future. Let me start by clearing up a few things. We are not anti-cyclist. In fact, the majority of our board members are daily riders who clock over 2,000 kilometers a year. We support bike lanes when they're implemented properly and not dropped into neighborhoods where they do more harm than good. We are not anti-environment. We are against policy that pretends to be green while creating more gridlock, more idling vehicles, and gas fumes so bad that our local TTC bus drivers are starting to smell fumes for the first time in their cabins. We are not anti-people. In fact, we are for the people of our community, especially for seniors, people with disabilities, and families who don't allow their children to be outside playing anymore on the side streets due to increased traffic coming through the side neighborhoods. We are not anti-transit. I ride the disastrous TTC quite frequently. Most of our daily members ride it quite often, and in fact, I was late getting here today due to it. This isn't progress, it's poor planning. We want a city where cyclists, transit riders, pedestrians, and yes, drivers, we can all move efficiently and safely. But forcing ideological experiments onto already congested arteries without proper consultation or year-round data is not balanced, it's reckless. This is about moving the most people as quickly, as efficiently as possible. We can have bike lanes and common sense, we can make progress without punishing people, and we can build a city that works for everyone, not just the loudest 3% of activists in the room. So let's stop pretending this is about bike lanes. It's about balance, it's about the process, and it's about respect, and it's about transparency. Because the city isn't collecting data in the rain, they're not collecting data in the wintertime, and they're certainly not being honest about how it's affecting businesses, commuters, and families across the West End. And yes, it's about fixing a giant mistake before people lose their businesses, lose their jobs, and lose their lives, and lose their faith in City Hall. While Mayor Chow and Councillor Amber Morley continue to dismiss growing concerns and doubling down on a broken plan while the city is grinding to a halt, that's not leadership, that's negligence. Leadership means stepping up when the system is failing, not hiding behind ideology while your city suffers. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. Our next speaker is Eloise Morrison from Scarborough Southwest.
Good morning. My name is Eloise Morrison. I run the daycare at Teach Can Fly Preschool, 100 meters away from the proposed shelter at 2535 Gerard Street East. I'm also a resident. So I'm here to represent the vulnerable children in our community. I'm speaking today on behalf of the Blantyre Hunt Club community to express our deep concern and growing frustration with the City of Toronto's handling of the housing crisis and homeless response, a response that quite frankly is proving to be dangerously incompetent. Let's be clear, we are not anti-housing and we are not anti-shelter. We are anti-mismanagement. And what we're witnessing is a city government that is failing on the most basic responsibilities of planning, safety, and care. By choosing to place emergency shelters near daycares and nestled in quiet residential neighborhoods, the city is putting the most vulnerable members of our community, our children, at unnecessary risk. These are infants and toddlers who rely on us as adults and leaders to protect them. And instead, the city is prioritizing convenience over safety and politics over planning. Convenience over safety and politics over planning. This is not a proper housing solution. It's a short-term patch that lacks necessary supports, proper oversight, or long-term variability. Meanwhile, community services are being overwhelmed, residents are being ignored, and critical stakeholders like daycare operators and parents are left completely in the dark. The city claims it's responding to a crisis, but a real crisis demands coordinated, competent action. What we're seeing is ad hoc decision-making, zoning hypocrisy, and a total absence of meaningful consultation. Toronto has the resources, the data, and the public will to build permanent, properly located, supportive housing. Instead, we get missteps, poor placement, and dangerous proximity to the various places where our youngest citizens should feel most safe. It's a time for accountability, it's a time for real solutions, and it's the time the city stop making vulnerable people, both housed and unhoused, pay the price for its failure to plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Eloise. Our next speaker is Anthony Furry.
Good morning, everyone. What we are hearing today is the silent majority from communities all across this city, from all walks of life, coming together to reclaim their city from the radical fringe who have dictated the terms at City Hall for too long. We are hearing from parents, small business owners, community members, seniors in their condo buildings and apartment buildings who want to take this city back from radical policies that have gone too far to moderate our policies and get back to the center where Toronto has been traditionally for quite some time. Unfortunately, the leadership at City Hall is just not working. You know, back when I ran for mayor a couple years ago in the last by-election, a lot of people spoke passionately about the need to deal with those drug injection sites, to care for people with compassion rather than destabilizing our communities, to get the city moving again so you can get from A to B. It shouldn't be something that just becomes horrendous to take your kids to a hockey game or a baseball game. Yet that's where we are. And unfortunately, in the past 2 years, the city is moving in the wrong direction on a number of key fronts. And I think what we're looking for right now is a call for accountability. We need answers on why bureaucrats are letting these things happen unchecked. Accountability of why so many homeless shelters, so many facilities that are supposed to be for compassion have become community drug dens. Why is it that we can't even get basic infrastructure repairs done in a reasonable amount of time? We represent the regular silent majority of people of all walks of life across this great, beautiful city of ours, And I think you're going to hear more and more from these people in the months to come. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you, Anthony. Our next speaker is David Margulies, New Toronto, 66 3rd Street.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Margulies from South Etobicoke. The city chose to avoid politically challenging the decision of citing shelters, instead delegating it to subordinates and shirking their responsibility. This is not democracy. We elect our leaders to make informed decisions, yet the choice to place a shelter at 66 3rd Street in New Toronto is reckless, biased, and poorly considered. The proposed site is unsuitable for a shelter. Located on a residential street, the shelter would double the street's population at capacity. The site spans only 9,000 square feet, significantly smaller than the city's own minimum standards of 15,000 square feet. It's also within 250 meters of 2 schools and abuts a subsidized seniors residence. The shelter at 66 3rd would be designated as a harm reduction site. It will offer 24/7 access to drug paraphernalia, including needles and crack pipes. But it will prohibit consumption on site. This policy will surely increase drug use in alleys, parks, streets, playgrounds, endangering our community. City officials and shelter agonists insist that addicts are the most vulnerable among us. But we strongly disagree. Our children are our most vulnerable, and certainly not addicts who choose to leave discarded needles and crack pipes in our neighborhood. Our final message to the city is this, and shelter agonists alike: if you think you can shame people into silence who don't want used needles in their backyard, used crack pipes in their backyard, by calling them NIMBY, you better think again. This type of gaslighting does not work on us. We are here to fight for a return to common decency in our neighborhood and across the city. We will not be cowed by absurd and childish name-calling from our leaders and some of the media. Let's end harm reduction practices in our neighborhoods and begin to site shelters appropriately with community balance in mind. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Our next speaker is Andre Fortier, Upper Jarvis residence.
Good morning. I'm Andre Fortier speaking on behalf of the Upper Jarvis residents, and we're here today because our neighborhood has become unsafe. Since Casey House has begun handing out free drug paraphernalia and allowing supervised consumption of narcotics, we've witnessed an explosion of street drug use and activity in our neighborhood, right outside our homes. People are injecting our sidewalks. Street drug dealers fight for territory. We hear yelling through the night, syringes and garbage left everywhere. A resident told me yesterday, and I quote, "I used to feel I lived in a piece of heaven. Now I feel like I live in hell." Our elderly and children walk these streets, and this is happening just 110 meters from a local school. That's illegal under the Community Care and Recovery Act 2024, which prohibits supervised consumption sites within 200 meters of schools. So how is this allowed? The province has acknowledged that street-level drug sites are not sustainable, committing instead to dedicated rehabilitation centers that protect both public health and neighborhood safety. Casey House is exploiting a hospital classification to bypass the law, practicing harm reduction through harm redistribution in our community. Casey House is funded 80% by the province and must be accountable for the direct harm they are causing in the community. This loophole must be shut down. It's putting lives and neighborhoods at risk. We are demanding action. The Minister of Health, Sylvia Jones, and MP Doug Ford must close the loophole, restore proper oversight, and end drug consumption and paraphernalia distribution in residential, school, and daycare areas. We are also calling on support of MPP Kristen Yongtam, City Councillor Chris Moyes, and Mayor Olivia Chow to take action to put a stop to this unbearable situation in our neighborhood. We didn't consent to this. Our voices matter. Our safety matters. This is failure policy and implementation, and it must be corrected. And we have assembled a media kit, including photos available upon request. This is an election issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Our next speaker is Sharon Danley, Esplanade Seniors Downtown Concerned Citizens Organization.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a senior, longtime resident of the Esplanade and an advocate for healthy, independent living. Today, I am speaking on the many seniors and disabled residents who feel abandoned by City Hall. Let me be clear, we are not against cyclists or addiction treatment, but we are absolutely against being treated like collateral damage in a city that claims to be progressive, but forgets the people who spent our lives building this city. I've been struck by a cyclist myself and nearly sideswiped twice more by riders who don't know the rules of the road. They ride on the road, the sidewalks, or wherever they feel like. Pedestrians have the right of way under the Ontario Traffic Act. But in Toronto, crossing the street, especially with a walker, cane, or from a wheel-trans vehicle, is life-threatening. E-bikes race at car-like speeds, and drivers turning through bike lanes are on constant high alert, hoping that they won't end up in an accident or worse. Then there's the methadone clinics placed right in the heart of our vulnerable residential community. There was no consultation, no support services, and no safeguards. Now we find discarded needles in our laneways, and many senior women are afraid just stepping outside their front door. Would you place a facility like that next to your mother's building? A few years ago, the city promised to make Toronto accessible for all people. That felt like a progress. It felt like a home. It felt like a dream. But now we feel like it was just a dream. A nice line in public policy that never reached the sidewalks. We deserve better. We demand real consultation, not rubber stamps. All cyclists must ride on exam and be licensed and insured. Enforcement of safety laws, not chaos disguised as innovation. And a city that truly works for everyone, not just the loudest lobby or the fastest bike. Remember, one day you could be a senior too or disabled. If a bike lanes and misplaced methadone clinics don't steal that future from you. We need a city that works for everyone and promises of accessibility and safety for the disabled upheld. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. The next speaker is Roman Baber, MP of York West.
My name is Roman Baber. I'm Conservative Member of Parliament for the Great Riding of York Centre, also known as Ward 6 in the City of Toronto. I'm here for one reason only. It's to talk about the propriety of the Downsview Homeless Shelter, proposed to be situated 100 meters away from the Pierre Laporte Public School and 100 meters from the St. Teresa Child Care Center. See, facts matter. The Downsview Shelter will be situated right here. This is the Pierre Laporte Public School. This is the St. Teresa Child Care Center. I submit to everyone respectfully, irrespective of the discourse here, irrespective of the fact that some people value free speech but obviously do not allow others to exercise their free speech, that this is not an appropriate spot for a shelter. Toronto city staff that work in the shelters now hand out drug paraphernalia. They will be handing out needles that will inevitably find themselves at the Pierre Laporte Public School, the daycare center, and Rhodey Park. Everybody acknowledges that there's a homeless issue in the city of Toronto. Everybody acknowledges that our shelters are overcrowded. But placing shelters in the heart of residential neighborhoods is not the answer. We can be looking at employment plans. We can be rezoning employment plans to host residential shelters. Now, the Danzu shelter will bring drugs and chaos. And how do I know that? Because we see what's happening next door with the Toronto Plaza shelter. Located at Jane and Wilson, the Toronto Plaza shelter has turned Jane and Wilson into an epicenter of drugs and crime. 3 weeks ago, there was a murder at the Toronto Plaza shelter. We're asking council not to turn Peel and Wilson into Jane and Wilson. Thank you so much.
Thank you, MP Bowder. Our next speaker is Daniel Tate from Integrity TO.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Tate. I am the Executive Director of Integrity TO. We are Toronto's newest and fastest growing civic advocacy group in the entire GTA. And we're generally nonpartisan. We're a centrist organization. We want rational, normal planning. Me personally, I'm not against bike lanes. I'm an avid user of the Sherbourne and College Street bike lanes, which are fantastic bike lanes. Why? Because they were done smartly. They don't eat up roads, right? And so this is not about being anti-bike lane. This is about being smart planning. But I do want to flip it over to a couple other issues quickly. Some of you may recall I was the person who brought the Dundas petition to City Hall. I brought it to Executive Committee. We had 35,000 people who signed it. And that was a wake-up call for everybody because we were maligned by Olivia Chow. We were maligned by Chris Moyse and other people in Executive Committee. And I think that shows that there is a lack of respect for citizens of this city by the current City Council administration. And the citizens want respect again. We don't want to be treated like crap, be used like pawns for your radical ideologies. We want respect. That's really what this is all about. Forgetting to buy charging stations for our $150 million ferries. The neglect and the incompetence is unbelievable. We've never seen this in our city before. Giving kids the right to vote. Diane Sachs wants 16-year-olds to be able to vote nationally. These are radical policies that normal Torontonians don't want anymore. And so that's what we're all coming here for to talk about. A couple of other quick things. I just want to give a shout out to Calvin Barry, who represented me pro bono. We freed John A. MacDonald at Queen's Park. Sir John A. MacDonald is free. Thank you. We appreciate the province. We're proud of our country and proud of our founder. Two more quick things. Chris Moyse needs to listen to his constituents. He did a con job on Yonge Dundas Square, we know this, and now he wants to rename Sumac Shooter Parquet with no public consultation. So there's a Trefan Court Residence petition, 1,500 signatures. We need to do a reset of that renaming. It was done in a completely dishonest way. And lastly, the last thing I want to announce is there is an unbelievable amount of public money that we all believe is not being stewarded responsibly. There's a lot of waste, and so Integrity TO is happy to announce that today we're announcing our next petition. We are calling for an independent third-party forensic audit of Toronto Shelter and Support Services, who has an almost $1 billion annual operating budget. Where's the money going? Almost $1 billion, and it's grown by 22% in the last 2 years. We want an audit, and this is going to be the first division at City Hall, and there's going to be many more to follow. Follow Integrity TO on Instagram and online. Talk to you later. Thank you.